Hi everybody, Yana is here and you're watching one of my regular blog series inspired by Pinterest. So in this video, I wanted to show you a background that I created out of inspiration from a picture that I found on Pinterest, and I'll have that on my blog, posted on my blog. So for this particular technique, I'm using the other side of my rubber mat, of my cutting mat, which has grit in centimeters. And this is particularly useful because I will be using a 1 centimeter wide washi tape, and I will be spacing it in 1 centimeters and creating stripes that are 1 centimeters wide, and then I'll have spaces in between them that are 1 centimeters wide as well. So I'm using washi tape as a masking tape here, and I wanted to point out that some washi tapes are very sticky and some aren't. So if you're using the one that is sticky, you might want to remove some of that stickiness before you add it to your paper. You can do that by adhering it a couple of times to your clothes or to your skin, just to make sure to remove the stickiness and make sure it won't damage your paper when you take off the washi tape, when you remove the washi tape. So here I'm using some pigment inks from ClearSnap. Those are color box pigment inks, and I'm using their little daubers to apply ink to my paper, and I'm simply inking the background with the back and forth motion and creating these colored stripes that you can see here. And I've picked 3 colors for this particular card. I had a gray, which is their new cement color, and then 2 pink colors, a lighter pink and a darker pink. Now to create a card with this background, I'm using a die from Spellbinders. This is one of their newest dies that was released at the winter CHA 2014, and I'm using the Happy Birthday die for this particular card. Now I'm die cutting the sentiment in my background, and I will be only using the negative portion. So the die cut happy birthday, the negative happy birthday portion of this sentiment. However, I am keeping the positive part, the actual happy birthday die cut, and I will be using it for for another card that I will be showing you in this video a bit later on. And as you can see here, this birthday and as well as the happy has 3 colors in it. So the main color is white, but there's also a little bit of pink and gray in the top and bottom portions of the die cut. Now I'm using some gesso from Martha Stewart Crafts and some die cuts, some chipboard die cuts from Bluefern Studios, and I'm covering them with gesso. I will be also heat setting them to make sure it dries a little bit quicker. And I'm doing so because I want to cover them and to color them with some pigment ink from ClearSnap, the same cement pigment ink that I used for my background. And here you can see me doing that. I'm once again using a little finger applicator here, and I'm transferring the color onto the die cuts. Once again, I also used a heat tool to speed up the drying process and make sure the ink stays there and doesn't come off and stain something else. Now I'm using a ton of double-sided foam squares from Dovecraft on the back of my background, and I'm adding a little bit of dimension to my card. I always use a lot of foam squares just to make sure my background my paper stays nice and doesn't, like bend inwards, something like that. So I always use a lot of foam squares. And as you can see here, I've also adhered a little chipboard heart, the one that I colored previously, to my card, and now I'm adding a little bit of gems to my background. Here's another card that I did with the same technique. Instead of inking a piece of cardstock, I inked the background, the card base, using the same colors, 2 pinks and 1 gray, and I've then adhered a little piece of white cardstock on top and added that happy birthday die cut. And if you look really closely, you can see that the gray and the yellow little portions on the happy birthday, they match the stripes that I have above and below. Now here's another idea that I had. I used a different color, and I'm drying the ink here just to make sure it's not sticky. The reason I'm doing so is because I want to add some embossing powder. So here I have some liquid embossing ink from ClearSnap. never mind the noise. My cats just walked in and they will be meowing a lot, so please never mind that. And I'm sorry they're making noise. But so I've dried the background to make sure that the inked background wasn't sticky, and then I added the sticky ink only to the stripes that I wanted to apply embossing powder to. So I then removed the washi tape, and I applied embossing powder. This is silver embossing powder from Hampton Art, to the gray stripes. Now the background wasn't very dry, so I did get some of the embossing powder on the other places where I didn't want it. So I used a little brush and I just brushed off the excess from the background. And then I heat set it and ended up with this beautiful shimmery and silvery striped background. Here's another thing that I wanted to show you. I felt that background was lacking some pink color, so I created some other stripes, and this time I made them a lot smaller, not as wide, not 10 centimeters wide, but more like 1 or 2 centimeters wide. And I did it in the same exact manner. I placed 2 strips of washi tape and then I inked in between. So here's the background that I ended up with. And I think you can use this technique with just about anything. You can use it with flocking, with glitter, with embossing powder, with texture paste, anything that you can get your hands on. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.